Hello, everybody, and welcome to the When Gaming podcast. Because when we play games, we talk games. My name is Matt, and here with me, as always,
Ryan. How you doing, Matt?
so I'm doing pretty well. You can find us on Twitter at When Gaming, on Twitch, which we're streaming right now, twitch.tv/When Gaming. We're on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker. I've never heard of Breaker. That's a podcast?
Yeah, I don't know. I got the email yesterday or today.
I love Anchor.
From
Shout out to Anchor.
Yes, definite shout out to Anchor. Makes it so easy. So easy. It's awesome.
Yeah, it makes it so easy to start a podcast. Anchor, check it out if you want to start a podcast. And we're also on YouTube, youtube.com/When Gaming Podcast. You can also check us out. We have an Xbox Club for When Gaming. Just search When Gaming, and you can, if we're going to play a game, we can play co-op online. You can come play with us. That's the best place to find us. Today we are streaming Sky Force Reloaded. Look at the name of the game. So, Ryan, we had a very interesting start to this. So we're not actually playing together tonight.
Unfortunately, no. So it took us a little bit to realize that this game. So first off, we both decided the best way to do this podcast is with Xbox Gamepass. You never had Game Pass, correct?
Never, no. I didn't even, honestly,
Okay.
I didn't even consider getting it. Like, it was just something I was like, oh, that's cool, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever really, check it out.
Okay, I was kind of the same way. I never thought I would actually get it because I was like, I don't really, play games enough, or the games that I play aren't going to be on there. But we decided that this was going to be one of the best platforms or vessels for us to continue to do this podcast and stream, to allow us to always be playing something that's slightly different, so we're not playing the same game over and over again, and people don't get bored with what we're playing. Because the whole point is that I kind of think it's like we're going to be playing different games, getting familiar with different genres. This one honestly brings me back to my childhood and playing these types of games in arcades and stuff with my dad. It's a top-down, one of those plain shooter games where you can. I'm hoping you can upgrade this thing, but like Matt said, we had a very interesting start because gets you a black screen. It says press any button to continue. You hit a button, and then all of a sudden, you're already in the game. There's no start menu. There's nothing, and then you go and you die. Like that's it. You die, and then it gets you to the start menu. So we were both very confused.
Very confused.
But like Matt said, we're playing it. I guess the term would be just like we're playing it together, just not in the same lobby. So it's a little different this time, but we're making things flow. So
Oh yeah,
got to keep it going.
I like this. This is fun. So I died just before, but in between levels, it looks like you can go to what's called a hangar, and you can upgrade your ship depending on how many stars you have, like how many stars you collect from the map. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm just loaded back into starting.
Oh yeah, I died too. This game's a lot harder than I would have thought it would have been.
So now that we're both trying out Game Pass, we're going to be trying out a lot of new games. But what games have you been playing this week besides what we're playing right now?
So what I've been mainly playing is Kingdom Hearts 3. It's all I kind of played. I finally beat the Toy Box, which is the Toy Story World, and that was awesome. It's just seeing all the characters, and the game. That game is beautiful, and the story is a little weird.
That's what everybody says. It's bizarre. Yeah.
So it's a little bizarre, but it's really fun. Especially if you're like a Disney fan like I am, and you see all those characters and stuff. It's just a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a gorgeous game. Gorgeous. The worlds are awesome. And now I'm on the Kingdom of Corona. And I didn't know what world this was actually, so I had to go and look it up, and it was the Tangled world, and I'd never seen Tangled before. And I texted Matt this week and was like, hey, I'm watching Tangled, and he's like, cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing this because I don't know this movie at all, and it's part of Kingdom Hearts. And he's like, research. And I was like, there you go.
There you go. It's research. Yeah.
Yeah. So the benefits of having a nearly 2-year-old daughter, I can watch these movies and play video games, and no one says anything. It's like, oh yeah, it's normal.
Honestly, I've been wanting to see that movie. It's just one of those things where, like, if it's not directly put in front of me, I'll forget about it, and then, you know, years go by, and I just I never go back to it. So it's good.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a good movie. It was enjoyable.
So that's it. You just been playing Kingdom Hearts? Thinking all your time
it was a busy
that?
week. Busy week.
Very.
Yeah, so that's what I had ended up playing most of the week when I had my free time.
Nice.
So.
I've been kind of, my
you?
wings have kind of been clipped, so I just had hand surgery, as you know. So I had to, you know, take a step back and not play as much as I usually do. But I was able to play a few things before it and some during. So I played Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, before. I think I talked about this last week as well.
Yeah.
Just a really great game. Still played a little bit of that. But mostly what I've been playing since my hand's been recovering is I've been playing Persona 4 Golden on my PlayStation Vita. I dug up my Vita and finally played a game that has been recommended to me so many times that I can't remember how many. Like, I couldn't possibly get a number. That's how many times it's recommended to me. So Persona 4 Golden is interesting. I understand what the game is. I understand it's a JRPG, a turn-based type RPG. It's very grindy, so I was ready for that. But what I wasn't ready for is for the first 2 hours plus of the game to be just dialogue. It literally has been just dialogue. I have not.
Can't imagine.
Since we were just on Respawn Aim Fire with Chad and Holden. I talked to them about this as well. But since I talked to them, I put in probably, I don't know, maybe like a half hour to 45 minutes more into the game. I still have not encountered combat yet. Not yet.
Are you kidding me?
Still, it's crazy, and it's weird. So the game, and I don't know, are you familiar with Persona at all?
None of them. No, I've heard a lot about them recently, just because a lot of the people I listen to on podcasts, a lot of different people talk about it. But no, I don't know much about it. You know, I know that there was the announcement of the new one, Persona 5R, the Royal, whatever.
Which
that's all I know.
Yeah, they're like still trying to figure out exactly what it is, but I assume it's like what they did with Persona 4. Like they had Persona 4, and then I'm playing Persona 4 Golden, which adds some new storylines and new characters to the original game. So that's what I assume it's going to be. But anyway, so the game is set. You're a kid in school, in high school in Japan, and the whole story happens throughout a year. They make it very apparent in the beginning that you're a transfer student, you're only there for a year, and then every day, every time you go back to your room and go to sleep, the day continues. It counts forward. It's like you're on it's March 3rd, and you're there until March 3rd of the following year. So there is that aspect to it. But I keep going through days
cool.
I can't do anything. Really, like, they just keep making me go back to the room and go to bed, and I'm like, well, I haven't done anything today. Like
oh my goodness,
it's so strange, and I keep thinking, and I was saying this on Respawn Aim Fire, I don't know what to expect from these games, really, like in the detail of the gameplay, because I haven't played one, and so I don't know if I'm like gonna miss anything, if I'm like missing important story plots by just like rushing through the dialogue. So I've been listening to every. And another thing that I really like about this game so far, like out of the dialogue, is that all the dialogue is voice acted. It's all voice acted.
Cool.
There's no reading, which is nice. You know, you can just sit there and listen to it. You don't have to do any reading, which is nice. And in games like Pokemon or other RPGs that I played, like that, handheld RPGs, you got to do a lot of the reading yourself because they just don't have voice acting. You can't, usually that's not a thing that they include in these games. But
and it's English.
It's English, yeah. It's dubbed over, which is fantastic. So I like that. So far, I'm a fan of it, which is weird to say because I haven't. It's essentially like playing a Pokemon game, and I haven't encountered a Pokemon yet. Like I don't have any Pokemon yet.
God.
It's 2.5 hours in and no Pokemon. Strange, right?
I couldn't do that. I don't know how you're doing that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm here for it. I'm gonna sit there. I'm here for it. I've also been playing a little bit of Let's Go Pikachu because I have the Pokeball controller, and so I can just play with one hand. It's literally a 2-button game with this Pokemon controller. It's great. The Pokeball controller. So I pop it in my left hand. I can move around with it. I can throw Pokeballs. I can go through my menu system all with just that one, one-handed, and I can ice my other hand while playing. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's nice. That's kind of cool how it allows you to do that.
Yeah,
It's got that versatility.
Very accessible for sure.
Very cool. I didn't know you were into Pokemon, honestly. So
I think we talked about it a little bit on the first episode, but it's one of my earliest,
we did. Yes, we did.
Just briefly, but I am seriously, like, I do like Pokemon a lot. Like, it's one of my earliest, like, memories of playing a handheld game for sure. Like, that was my, like, on my I think the first Game Boy I had was a Game Boy Pocket, which was the original Game Boy, but it was slimmed down a little bit. And it was silver.
I do remember us talking about that now.
Yeah,
Dude,
so
it's
that
crazy. It's been a month. This is our 4th episode. We've been doing this for a month.
I know, that's crazy. Oh, you know what?
It's crazy.
So I'm playing this game right now, Skyforce Reloaded, and I just popped up on your, or you just popped up on my screen. I guess it might have been where you had died before or whatever. And like,
yeah, you popped up on mine too. I think it's where we die.
What happens if you go over
I'm on the second stage.
And pick them up? Oh, I'm still on the first stage.
Nothing. I'm on the second stage, but I just died, so you're good.
I've died a few times, and I've upgraded my health on this and my cannon, but it's still not a great. Like, when you first load in, it seems like they give you the end game ship with everything uploaded, everything upgraded.
Yeah.
And now I'm like back to square one.
Not. Yeah.
All right, I'm working this helicopter down. But yeah, love Pokemon, and you're right. It's I can't believe it's been 4 weeks already. It's been a month. That's wild to me. I feel like just yesterday we started.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and it was, like you said, we were on Respawning Fire this weekend, and which gets released on Tuesday mornings, and we were, that's where we met, and I don't even remember what we said, and it was just like, yeah, it's gone by so fast, and we didn't know each other, and look where we are now. Look what we're at, So it's pretty awesome.
We're in a
rhythm. Hey, if anyone out there if anyone's out there thinking of it, it is possible. That's the cool thing. Like you said, shout out to Anchor because it makes it that much easier.
So easy, yeah.
So.
Awesome. You want to talk some news? Gaming news?
Yeah, let's go. Let's jump into the news because there's some pretty interesting ones, and actually I want to jump down to what was talked about yesterday, which was the Apple Arcade. Because this one interests me because reading the notes, because you put this one on the list, and I'm glad you did, because it's a kind of a keystone event, but I think we have different viewpoints on what it has potential for. So do you want to go through, because I think you might know more about what's capable of, and then we can kind of chat about it.
So yeah, absolutely. So Apple Arcade. So on Monday, whatever the date was, Monday the 23rd. I think it was. Apple had a keynote. Yeah, something like that. Apple had a keynote, and this time of year they usually do a keynote. I believe this time of year they usually do like software type stuff and new features for their software. Not really. This is not a hardware time for them. So they started. They announced some new things for the TV app. They announced their streaming service with. It's gonna compete with like Netflix and Plus and all those. But they also announced a whole gaming division. They obviously you already can play games on your iOS devices in the App Store. You just download them. But they're calling it's something different. They're calling it Apple Arcade, and it's coming this fall with over 100 exclusive games just for iOS. Along with a bunch of other games that we know already, and some actually that we saw in the Nindies showcase for Nintendo last week. Some of those indies are coming to Apple Arcade. They haven't released a price point on this yet. It's just they're saying it's going to be a subscription service. If I had to throw out a guess, I'd say $9.99 a month, unlimited games, online and offline. You can save them for offline if you're not some reason if you're on a plane or someone with an internet connection, you can still play your games. I would imagine Bluetooth controller support happens just like it normally does in a lot of the other games in the iOS store. It's very interesting because for this to happen right after Google announced Stadia, and like the whole like industry is abuzz with streaming games. Like
Yep.
we're playing with
it is so the future. So
we're playing
that's what it
Gamepass,
is.
that whole thing. It is the future. So Apple is not like mobile gaming is not my first choice for playing a game. I play Pokemon Go often, I'll say often on my phone, but it's never like I'm never like, oh, I'm gonna go home tonight and play Pokemon Go. It's always like I'm on the road, I'm in a hotel. Let's see if there's any Pokemon gyms around here that I can grab, that I can try and defeat.
Yep.
So it's never really my first. There are a few, like I downloaded Donut. Did you ever play Donut County? Or did you hear about that?
No,
game?
but I heard great things about that game.
So Donut County, great game. Florence, great game. If you want to play a mobile game, play Florence. People were talking about Game of the Year last year and all that. So it is
I heard about that game too.
So it's very interesting. My take on it is this is not for me. I won't pay a subscription service to play mobile games. I have a Switch. You know what I mean? Like I have a Switch, and I want to take that with me. I still have my Vita. As much as I've kind of worn that thing down, like I still have my Vita if I really want to. So no, like a subscription service is not for me. But I do think it definitely is for some people, and I think that this could be very successful. They have a pretty strong list of developers behind them. To name a few: Lego, Konami, Skybound, Sega, Disney, Devolver, and Blowfish. So and that's along with a bunch of other names on the stage that I didn't like. Those are the recognizable ones. I didn't recognize some of the other ones. But yeah, I mean and Apple doesn't. When Apple does things, they don't really do things half-assed, so to speak. They definitely have the games in place. They have the creators in place to make this this service as best as it could possibly be. So that's my take on it. What do you think? What did you first think when you heard this or saw this?
So I didn't catch it live. So again, I went back and I heard about it through Twitter, and I was like, all right, so this is kind of cool. Apple's getting into the game. But what exactly are they going to do? Because like you said, they're not their own publisher. It's not like Stadia. It's not like Google. They're not like Apple is reinventing gaming. It's just another option, another place to play games and buy games. And I was like, okay, and then you look at it and the preview showed all these cool, like it showed some pretty cool games. It showed like the developers and kind of behind the scenes, and I thought that was awesome. Great marketing. But Apple is wonderful at marketing.
Yes, they are
and
very
there, I think it was on Kind of Funny where they were talking about the fact that it's $10 per month per subscription, possibly. Everyone's just kind of throwing around the possibility of what it's going to cost because no one knows. And if that's the case, awesome. But I believe they've announced that the way that the developers get paid is by people playing their game. And so you have the guy who makes Final Fantasy. I think who is that? Is that Konami? I'm not sure. Maybe Skybound. I can't remember. So, but on the commercial, like on the ad, on the preview, they had him, and it's like it said Final Fantasy, and I'm like, that's a big name because people know what Final Fantasy is, even if you don't play it, you know what it is, and so I was like, that's a big name, cool, and it like showed his game, and I'm like, that's a really cool game. He's gonna get more people playing his game than if I were to make a game and have it published on Apple Arcade. And so does he get $9 and I get $1? And now if there's more and more games and less people are playing my game, do I get less of $1? And it almost seemed like it was made for small developers, and then they just went around and like that's how the whole spiel was. And then it was like, no, because if you're a small developer, you're not going to get your games out, you're not going to get paid because no one's going to play your games because no one knows who you are. It's like, oh well, that kind of sucks now. So that was like my first reaction. I was like, wait, what? I was like, but if no one knows my game, no one's gonna know how to play. Like like Xbox Gamepass, I'm curious as how does this company get paid that we're paying this game from? Because I would never have really found this game or paid for this game if it wasn't free on Game Pass. Granted, it's not free because we paid technically we both paid the dollar, I think. So, but it's like those smaller companies that these little subscription things are made for, you're killing them by getting these super high-end names up there with you. So that was my take on it. Like, that's just a little weird. So I'm curious to see how much it will cost and what actually how these companies get their due diligence.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that could definitely be a problem for smaller developers. Looking at it, I guess, because I do tend to agree with you, but looking at it glass half full type of thing, I think that good games will prevail. And I think with Apple Arcade and a subscription service where you pay one item a month, it unleashes you with games that you would have not even looked at before. Kind of corrals them in this area where you're looking through and they're like, okay, well, I can play any game here that I want because I subscribe to Apple Arcade. So let me try this. Or, you know what I mean? And all it takes really, look at, case in point, look at, and this is, Kind of Funny's power as well. Kind of Funny for a few weeks there, and still, they were religiously plugging Ding Dong XL. Are you familiar with Ding Dong XL?
No, not familiar with that one.
So Ding Dong XL is this mobile game, and it's very simple. It's a kind of like Frogger meets like a rhythm game, endless runner type thing, and it's so simple, and it's like it was $1 on the App Store, and enough people started playing it where they put it out there. But of course, if it's a bad game, and even if they're promoting it, nobody's gonna really play it. But they enjoyed it. Jared Petty enjoyed it. So I downloaded it, and now I play it on my phone. I highly suggest. I think it's like $1 or $2. It's and you're supporting a really small creator. But now it just got announced the other day that they're coming to Switch. The game blew up so much on iOS and Android, I assume, that it's also coming to Switch, which is crazy. It's and the creator was on Twitter being like, "We did it! Look what we did! We did it!" Which is awesome. That's great for the creator.
That's cool.
So so it could be stories like that. It's you get your game in, into Apple Arcade, and who knows, it could take off. And also I'm curious to see what kind of betting system or how do you get into Apple Arcade? Will there still be normal games on the App Store? You know what I'm saying? Or is every game part? You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can do that. I think some games you'll have to pay for if they choose to make them. Just like Xbox Game Pass, we don't have every game that's on Xbox. We have a good chunk, but not all of them are available there. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because there's those games that people put, almost years into that they charge $10 or $5 for. You can't just lump that into Apple Arcade, and if it doesn't get the traction that they're hoping for, that's just then that developer just goes under. It's done. So, I do think that there's going to be Apple Arcade and there's still going to be the App Store. I don't think that there's going to be a one-stop shop of that's it. So, but the way you put it is good. That is a good point, though. Not just because they're there doesn't mean that they're going to be, overlooked. They're going to get the traction that they want. They're there for a reason. They know, and so I think that, like you said, they get enough traction, they can go somewhere better, and that's the whole point behind it. So
I think that's a pretty big part of it. It's opportunity for these smaller creators, and also, who knows? Apple, like Google with Stadia, Apple could be trying to change the game. The iPhone, the new iPhones especially with the Bionic A10 Bionic chip, they're more than able to run indie games. Indie games you find on Switch, they're more than able to run that. So, people could this could be a new way for you to run your indie games. And if someone doesn't want to buy a Switch and you're a gamer, There you go. Like you play your new series.
I would find, if you can give me the indie games that I want to play. Oh yeah, I would definitely go for that, because there's a lot of indie games that I want to play that I'm like, I just don't have the hardware to do it. You know, I don't have a Switch. I don't have, you know, that's my big thing that I'm actually really happy about Game Pass, is that I'm going to be able to play more and more games that I wouldn't play normally.
Yes.
So
Sure.
I'm excited about that. So yeah.
So what? Which one do you want to talk about next? Which one here?
Let's go So let's talk about what Xbox had to say about Google Stadia, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
If you hadn't heard, I think it was the day after, Phil Spencer came out and basically was like, sent a memo to everybody in the Xbox area and was like, hey, you know, don't worry, we're good. I'm glad we have this, you know, an unsuspected competitor has showed up. Cool. What they did was awesome. It shows that we're all going in the right direction, because we weren't thinking about this by ourselves. And then it's like, but hey, don't worry, ours is different. And like that's not what he says, and everything I'm saying right now is all paraphrased, but that's what he was basically saying. He's like, no, don't worry, it's all, everything that we're doing, it's not the same. They aren't one for one. You don't have to worry about it. And I was like, huh, that's kind of cool. The way the wording that he chose made me think, oh, it's not like Stadia. So I'm curious as to what xCloud is. And then he also said, we're gonna make sure to bring it come E3. So we're for sure gonna see something at E3 about xCloud. So I'm excited about that.
I love the momentum that Xbox is gaining. Like like this part in the cycle of this generation of consoles and just gaming in general. Like they've been kind of on the downturn, you know, because PlayStation sold probably double the amount of PlayStations that Xbox has sold, you know, compared to their last generation where they killed it with 60. So they knew they had to make changes. Game Pass is definitely part of that. And this new service is going to be the next step forward, but I love the momentum they're taking. I love that they're still going to E3 when everybody else is kind of, when I say everybody else, you know, PlayStation's pulling out. A lot of other developers aren't going to have the same presence they've had before, but they need to stick to it and stick to their guns. And like I said last week, I think with Stadia, Xbox is in the perfect opportunity now. Like Stadia came out and they planted their feet in the sand. They said, hey, we're going to be a streaming service. You have a controller and you can play your games anywhere. It's not about a console anymore. You play them anywhere. Where Xbox can come out and be like, okay, guys, like, don't worry. Like, your consoles aren't going anywhere. Like, you still have your consoles. But we're going to also add in this great technology that Google also came forward with, and we also have, you know, xCloud, and whatever that ends up being. But they can kind of like talk people back from the ledge that are like, you know, still want to have their box, still want to be traditional, sitting on the couch playing their games, not on their phone, not on a tablet. They want to be playing their Xbox. They can still deliver that to them. So they're in a great position to like really score at E3 this year. For sure. For sure, and especially with PlayStation not coming. And I know you didn't see it because I texted you about it, but their state of play, they said they weren't coming to E3 because they didn't have enough to show, and so they had a state of play yesterday, which was, people were calling it like the PlayStation Nindies, where that's what it was going to be. It was going to be something small, and to be completely honest, in my opinion, it sucked. You know, I'm not a PlayStation guy, so maybe that's also why, but I thought it was very unimpressive. The VR for Iron Man, because they announced an Iron Man VR. I'm like, that sounds like an awesome concept. Nice. And then you watch it, and a lot of it's like, not actual gameplay. And then you see the actual gameplay, and you're like, that looked like trash. I did see that, and that disappointed me.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I being Iron Man, that's so cool. They could do so much with that, and I think they just dropped the ball on it, personally. But that's the thing. They're like, we're not going to E3 because we don't have anything to show, and State of Play showed that. So, you know, Xbox now has this opportunity to just kill it, just straight kill it at E3, because they've, you know, who's going to be their competition, you know, really. It's Sony used to be, but now that they're not going to be there, I don't really know who their competition at E3 will be.
Yeah, I don't know who their competition
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo beats to their own drum, you know, they're not really they're not really, you know, and that's like, that's good on Nintendo. Like, I've always loved Nintendo for that. They don't subscribe to whatever else is doing. They kind of just do their own thing. So they're not competing with Nintendo. You know, the rest of the developers or whatever, they're probably, most of their games are going to be on Xbox too. So, no, I mean, it's a great time. Again, it's a great time for Xbox to kind of seize the day and really kind of like get a jump start on the next console generation and the next generation of games. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Win a lot of hearts.
It'll win a lot of hearts, and especially. But again, they could fall flat and not bring it at E3, and that'll just completely destroy them. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
E3 is important for this year, and you know, I've never really followed E3 that like much before, but now that I'm getting more and more into like gaming news and gaming industry, and I'm like, this is cool, these are my people, you know. I'm like, man, E3, there's a lot to it this year, and you know, I wanted to go when I was younger just because I knew what it was, and now I'm like, no, I would love to be there this year.
It would be great
just to see what's gonna happen.
Yep. And along with all the other developers and stuff, it should be pretty exciting. Even though PlayStation, you know, it is sad, it is awful. Like, too bad that PlayStation isn't going. Because I love to see like what PlayStation has, and like I love what all the big names have to show. Like, that's just it's like a great thing. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's I feel like a piece of it's missing. But if they're saying they don't have enough to show, that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah,
it is. It kind of sucks. So, and kind of showed that they didn't have a lot to show. But again, I digress.
Yeah. You know what's not unfortunate?
What's not unfortunate?
That Lucasfilm Gaming is coming back. Lucasfilm.
Oh. Yes, I know, and that was a sweet segue. That was so smooth. You know, I have to give you props for that.
I'm honestly, when I saw this, I was giddy. LucasArts makes some of my favorite games from when I was a kid. Like, the Rogue Squadron series is still one of my favorites, and I would love to see that get rebooted.
Nice. Yeah.
I know that EA completely, no matter how you slice it, EA completely dropped the ball on
they screwed the pooch on this one.
Yes, they've had 10 years. Their 10 years will be up in 2023, somewhere around there. They've had 10 years to make Star Wars games, and they've only made, you know, two, which they're, and I was gonna say, like, you know, they're bad. They're not bad games. They're not bad games. They totally fumbled how they handled the release of them, how they handled microtransactions on the second one. It just, I mean, I bought the second one, I played it, I played the campaign, I put it down, I haven't touched it since. The first game, the first Battlefront, I played, I played a ton online. I didn't play any online with the second one. And it's terrible. You need Star Wars games. There's so many different avenues you can take, from a Force Unleashed game, like I was talking about earlier, or a Knights of the Old Republic, which it's kind of RPG, or this kind of like Rogue Squadron. It's a flight simulator, kind of like Ace Combat kind of shooter, but with Star Wars starships. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. I want that back.
Was Rogue Squadron the one where you were in the Naboo fighter?
Yes. So there was a few of them.
Okay.
So
I remember that
Rogue Squadron was one of them. There was also from what I'm trying to remember, from the original Xbox, there was a game where you were the Naboo fighter was on the cover, and I believe that was a different game. And I wish I remembered the name of it, but there was a different game with a Naboo fighter on the cover, and that was different than Rogue Squadron. But you could also be the Naboo fighter in Squadron.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember playing one game that you were the Naboo fighter, and that's all you were. Again, I was so little, I don't really remember too much about the game, but I've always been a huge Star Wars fan ever since I was a little kid, and I used to play all the original Battlefronts, and I was like, oh, EA's got a new one. You know, they've got the IP. I was like, all right, cool. I can get behind this. And then I bought the first one, and it was nothing like the original Battlefront.
Nope.
I played it for a little bit, and I was like, this is just a waste of my time now, and I stopped. I barely got any hours into that game. I was like, it's a beautiful game. Not gonna knock it for what it is. It's so disappointing. Yeah, that was a heartbreak. So, but hey. Yeah, so the news, the whole news article was that Disney is now reamping, or what is it? What was the term? Resurrecting.
Yes.
Resurrected Lucas Game, or Lucas, what is it? Lucas. It used to be Lucas. Yeah, it used to be Lucas Films Gaming, I think, and now it's Lucas Arts Gaming. So I thought they just renamed it, but I mean it's the same. It is, and so. Now, like you said, EA's contract with Disney and the Star Wars IP is ending, and their reign of terror is over. So the empire has fallen. But I'm stoked. I'm excited to see what they. I know that EA does have the one with Respawn coming out later this year, the Star Wars game, but we don't know anything about it except that it's called of the Jedi of the Fallen Order or something, I think.
Yeah, and I'm nervous. We haven't seen anything from it either, right?
No, we haven't seen anything or heard much at all. So yeah, I don't know what to even expect. I'm not sure if I'm excited. I'm excited for it because of what Respawn did with Apex Legends. I'm excited for it.
Yes.
But other than that, I'm like, I don't know what to expect from EA. Because they're really the ones who are making the shots.
Yep.
So I'm scared still.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And you want to be optimistic for it. I just can't wait for a few more years until it's completely out of EA's hands and we can get. Because you got to think about this too. In the time that EA has been kind of like dropping the ball on Star Wars, there's got to be developers like licking their chops, waiting to get a chance to make a Star Wars game, and I'm sure there's so many ideas fleshed out, and like ready to go. So,
yep.
Let's get the Star Wars IP into their hands and make something awesome. That would be dope.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Disney is also understanding that they're terrible at making games, and they finally have realized, hey, guys, we don't make good games. Because every game that a Disney studio has made it just sucks. I don't know if you've ever played them as a kid or you played them even as an adult. Their quality is poor. They don't have a good story. They ruin things, and it's just like terrible gameplay. So I'm very happy to see that they're not going, hey, we're just going to be Disney. We're gonna implement a new we're resurrecting this studio, and they're not going to be the people making the games all the time, I bet. They're going to be, like you said, there's going to be these other developers who are making it, but everything's going to go through this Lucasfilm Gaming, who are people who are that now, at EA, I bet you the people working on the games were diehard, they were Star Wars fans, but now this is like, if you're on Lucasfilm Gaming, you are a diehard fan. Why else would you go for that, work for that company?
Right, yeah, you have to be, and you need that kind of passion in it. I think they could do something really cool. I'm disappointed we never got a really cool, besides Knights of the Old Republic, a really good Star Wars RPG. That is something that's severely missing. I think. I mean, I remember there was an MMO a while ago.
Yeah, I loved that. I played the hell out of that game in college.
What was that? What was that called?
It was Star Wars. Star Wars of the Old Republic. It was KOTOR, I think.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Or was it Knights of? Because the RPG was Knights of the Old Republic, and the RPG it was an MMORPG that was just of the Old Republic.
Okay.
And it was phenomenal. So much fun.
So stuff like that. That's what we need. I need it.
Yes.
I also need. I don't know. I wish that they did better. I would love to play through a lot of the newer movies too. If they did they included characters from the new movies. They do include them in Battlefront, but again, Battlefront very one-dimensional. It's a first-person shooter. If we could somehow get them involved in an RPG type story, that would be awesome. Yeah, it'd be very interesting.
You know what I thought was funny though about Battlefront 2, the newest one, was that it takes place during after Order 66. Okay, and so Order 66, or no, sorry, yeah, it takes place after Order 66.
Jedi.
And you can
get murdered.
They brought back Anakin. Anakin's a playable character now. I was like, there's something wrong there. You guys don't understand the own lore of the game that you built. Like, okay, that's fine. You know, some people don't. I get that, but somebody had to be like, hey, yo, this doesn't make any sense. But I guess not.
And sometimes they don't
because
care.
it still
Sometimes,
came out. No, it made money. I bet you it made money. And then again, EA used this game as a cash cow like crazy because hey, why not? People are gonna buy Star Wars games. I just didn't because I knew when EA comes out and goes, campaign games are a thing of the past. No, that's not true.
Yeah.
So they kind of
I would also like, and now that we're on the topic of just like dreaming up, like dream Star Wars games, I would love to have another pod racing game. Like I'm a big I'm a big racing guy.
Yeah.
I would love to have a pod racing game. The original pod racer that I played on N64, I liked a lot. I played that a lot. I would love to have imagine a really polished, not like a kart racer where you're it's like bullet hell and you're trying to knock other cars off. It's just rubbing. There's no weapons. It's just like what pod racing was in episode 1. And then you can,
Did you ever
very,
play
very polished.
Did you ever play the game at the arcades, the pod racing games at the arcades?
I think I have. I don't specifically remember any memories from playing those, but I do remember playing the N64. What is the arcade one like?
Okay.
It's very similar.
It was awesome. You actually had two controls, and so you could use both engines, and so you had controls on both sides of you. You sat in a chair and you had controls on both sides of you that did
dope. So it's like a simulator.
Each engine. It was very much a simulator. It was awesome. I was terrible at it, but it was a lot of fun.
That
it was the game I'd go to. That my dad would be like, "Are you sure this is the game you want to play?"
There's a Dave and Buster's in downtown Providence that I go to fairly often. There's a Star Wars game there where you get into like a bubble and you're in a ship and you're shooting, or like you can switch between that and our ground troops. But I don't know if that is. Yeah, I mean, if that's something like it, but I don't think
that took the place of it.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
I'll
that was a good one. I played that one a lot.
Big fan of pod racing. One of my favorite parts of the first episode of Star Wars. Love pod racing. And Watto.
Yeah, that is a great one. It's a great scene. That whole racing scene is amazing.
Yeah, it is great. It's just a great, like, well done, like, very good. That would be cool to get a polished pod racing game. I think that would be dope.
Yes.
Want to talk about Snapchat a little bit?
Yeah. So this one I thought was just interesting, just because it was right after Stadia gets announced, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, Snapchat is also going to be doing their own gaming service. And I don't know, do you use Snapchat at all?
I use Snapchat. My friends used to use it a lot more, but like I do still use it. But with Instagram stories basically stealing their shtick, doing basically the same thing, I don't really use it as much anymore. It's very friends that don't have any other social media, and I can only contact them then and send pictures and stuff. It's my default go-to for that kind of stuff, but it's not my like #1 choice of social media. So I don't really use it that much. But I know that they've been struggling as far as like a company's concerned, like trying to get funding, and I think that they're kind of having issues with money. And I heard about this gaming thing a while ago, and I thought they had abandoned it, to be honest.
They should, in my opinion. I don't see so one reason I use Snapchat, I do not snap anybody but my wife. Like that, I just don't. And my wife is the only person who Snapchats me. Like honestly, I never take pictures and send it to her. She usually just sends me pictures of of our daughter or our dog, and that's like while I'm at work, because it's like, oh hey, look, our daughter fell asleep on me. It's like, oh, that's cute. but I don't use it like to talk to friends or anything. I do have found it though. It's a great way to get news-ish. So like IGN has their own little thing on there that's really kind of it's entertaining to watch. You get your news that way. There's ones that are like I've noticed that you really like NASA stuff, Matt.
Yes,
and there's one that's called Spacecrafts, and it's all about like space things and like all the like, oh, what would we really have to do to get to Mars? And it breaks it down and it like shows you the physics in a simple way that anyone can really understand. And like my wife likes it, she enjoys it, because it's something like I'm an aerospace engineer, that's what I do, and so I love talking about space and all that stuff. And so she's like, oh yeah, I get this, and I'm like, exactly, this thing is awesome. So I think that's the benefit. Cool. Yeah, the benefit of Snapchat is that, not gaming. I don't see how they'd even do a gaming service on there, honestly. It's 10 seconds to play a game. What? I don't know. I just think it's interesting, and now everybody's trying to get into the gaming scene.
I think that what Snapchat for gaming, it's going to be very different from what, like when you say they're getting into the gaming space, like an iOS, very different. I think it's going to be augmented reality games. I think it's going to be turn-based games. So like, think Words with Friends, where you don't have to answer right away. It could be like, I just brainstorming when I saw this article. You could do scavenger hunts where, this is based on the honor system. It could come up with a list of things. You take a picture, you send it to your friend. Like, they can accept it or deny it. Like, is that, acceptable? And then you move on to the next thing. You get points and you go on. This could be an ongoing game going, whatever. Another one.
I can see that.
Could be Pictionary. I remember there was a game back on, like, I don't know, probably when I was in college, where I think it was called Draw Something, actually. Is it, did you ever play Draw Something?
I remember that. Yeah. Where you
get
give
a prompt.
It's like Pictionary and it's just turn-based. Yeah.
Exactly. Something like that. That could absolutely be games. Trivia could be an easy one. And now with Snapchat, it's pretty easy to make groups. I have a group with some of my friends. You can just make a group, and you can do trivia with everybody. Who answers the fastest, who has the most points, who answers more frequently, that kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of places to go. I don't think they're going to be, I don't think you're going to be playing Uncharted on Snapchat anytime soon. But they can have their own completely new type of game. Like, I mean, you could really, not a new type of game, but they could really find certain game types to fit Snapchat. Augmented reality probably be one of the big ones.
Yeah, those examples I think are excellent.
Snapchat does it. Look for Instagram to also do it. Very cool.
Yep. Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. If Snapchat does it, then you're gonna see Instagram do it. Yes. I know that like even iOS, Apple, like you can play a game of pool to each other. Like that's in via the text, like via iMessage. You can play pool.
That's so cool, isn't it? Like that's the kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely. That's something that you could do in Snapchat. Definitely. Like that type of gaming. I've always loved when I first got I forget what iOS version that was. But when that first came out, I was like, oh, my buddy Sean, I was like, oh, you gotta play pool with me on my phone. And we played like religiously for, I don't know, a couple weeks, and then it kind of got old. So who knows, like if maybe that type of fatigue will happen with the Snapchat too. I don't know, with that type of game, you know what I mean? You can kind of fall out of it. Like, I remember when trivia games were popular and like words with friends were popular. I remember I played a ton of that, and then all of a sudden one day I wasn't. It's like the easiest thing. You have your phone on you all the time, but I just wasn't playing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, and what was that? The HQ game. Me and my wife, that was a trivia game. I could see that being like ported over to Snapchat instead of an app of its own. A place where it's like, oh, you don't really need to have the infrastructure. Anybody, you'll reach a bigger audience because, oh, if you haven't never heard of this, you're never going to go download it. But if it's on Snapchat, people are like, oh, look at this. It's an ad for a game that's on here, and it's a free-to-play game. So it allows, all of us to play. Cool. Like, I think that you'll get that kind of stuff. And that, I think like you said is the right way for them to approach it, and I bet you that's how they will approach it, and especially the augmented reality, because that's cool stuff. I like
Yeah,
augmented reality is really cool.
And they were like, I remember when Snapchat first started doing their filters, like I was blown away. Like this is like, oh, it was so well done and like so clever.
Yeah.
And now like obviously, you know, there's a bunch of other apps that copy it, including Instagram. But, like that was so cool. So they have the talent for the augmented reality type stuff. So it'd be cool to see like where that type of gaming gets into play. Because if you remember, like a few years ago, before VR really like is where it's at now, like originally VR was supposed to be AR. People were like, everything is going to be AR. Like AR is going to be the big thing. It's not going to be VR. VR is not, you know, not plausible. Yeah, plausible. You know, for like for everyday use. But now look at it. It's like PSVR and the Oculus Rift, and with the Oculus Quest coming out, the wireless one. Like there's so much opportunity for VR, and AR has kind of like been nowhere. But maybe Snapchat has the tools to make AR a thing. Finally. Yeah. But it was promised.
So yeah, you say you play Pokemon Go. We play Pokemon Go together. You know, I've added you as a friend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Whenever you're catching a Pokemon, do you use the AR or do you just say no?
No, I say no, and there's a reason why. I would love to do the AR. I actually did you try the new photo mode that they added to it?
No, I haven't tried that yet.
So you use AR and you take a picture. It looks like the Pokemon's in your living room. It's pretty cool, and you can like find special like items and stuff while you're doing it. So they give you incentive to try it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, but the main reason why I don't do it is because when Pokemon Go first came out, it was a phenomenon. It was, if you remember, like everybody was playing it. It was a phenomenon, and I just wanted to keep my battery as high as possible so I could play for as long as possible. So I turned off AR to save battery so I could play for longer. That's the reason why I don't do AR now. Even though my battery on my phone is great now, it's still kind of like I don't want.
You're just in the habit of not using it. I got you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't use AR because where I work, we're not allowed to take pictures. So you can't have a camera out. You can't we can't FaceTime at work or anything like that. Just for you know, it's just our security rules.
Yeah.
So I've always had mine off from when it first came out, but I do think that when it first came out and I was like playing at home and like you pull it out and even all the memes when you would see I think my favorite one was when you see an Ekans in some guy's boot and it's like the whole Woody saying of, "There's a snake in my boot," and I'm like, that's just funny. Like I don't care. Like I think that's hilarious and that's just so cool. And I was like, I would show my dad, and my dad always gave me trouble for playing Pokemon when I was not young. I play Pokemon still today, and he's like, he kind of just gets in trouble. He's like, this is the game you played when you were a kid, and it's like, yeah, Dad, it's still really good, especially as an adult. The game gets better.
Yeah.
But I show him, and he's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a phenomenon like no other. I was at the time I went back to school and I was taking some classes at a college downtown, and I remember like walking to class and everybody, and I mean everybody was playing. There was all the parks in downtown Providence filled with people playing Pokemon Go, and you could just walk outside and you could see someone like every 1 out of 10 people you'd see was playing Pokemon. It was crazy. So
it was awesome.
Yeah, that's maybe the first true game. So maybe Snapchat can, you know, cash in on something else.
Figure something out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah.
How are you doing in this game? Just curious.
Not well. I'm gonna be honest. It's my hand's doing fine. It's just I'm trying to really like level up my ship. So I'm not really focusing on like getting the objectives. So I'm trying to get the stars. So I'm still a bit behind. I'm only on the second stage right now. Where are you at?
I'm on stage 3, but I'm on stage 3. I'm the final boss, and I've got 20 health, and I've almost got him beat. If I can get that. There we go. Okay. He was hard. That was a difficult one.
This is cool.
He's
I like
done.
this.
That's cool. He's not done. They just brought in a new head for him. But
I am trying to unlock Magnet. So I can get the stars without having.
Yep. I got that one. Yeah, you make sure you upgrade it, which I found out. So you can unlock something, but that doesn't mean you actually have it activated, which is stupid. So you have to unlock it, and then you have to spend more stars to get it unlocked.
Oh.
So, yeah, I've got the wing turret cannons, whatever they are. It's super powerful. Just rips through everything, but it only shoots. I died. Dang it, so close. It only shoots every now and then. So
again, if anybody's just jumping in to this podcast, or they're just jumping into the live stream, we are playing Strike Force Reloaded. Is that what it's called?
Skyforce
Reloaded. Skyforce Reloaded. It is like it's a top-down shoot 'em up airplane type game. It's pretty fun, and I like this. So there's different ways you can get 4. What do they call them? Stars or badges per level, and you get them by completing the level without getting hit, by clearing all enemies, by rescuing everybody. There's like little guys on the ground. You fly next to them, and you can rescue them. And then what is the last one? To not get hit.
Oh, without getting hit. So you have to. I think it does it change per level? No. Destroy 70% of enemies. Destroy 100%. Rescue all the people, and then stay untouched.
Okay.
Those are the four medals for each level, so far at least. And again, I'm on stage 3, and you're on stage 2. This is a tough game.
Yeah, stage 2. This is a very tough game. I do like a challenging shoot 'em up. This is cool. I think I will actually probably play this a little bit more, even after we're done with this podcast. I'm not gonna lie. I will continue to play this. This will stay on my hard drive.
It reminds me of the games I used to play as a kid. That's what this reminds me of. So, I remember playing these games.
Do you remember some of the names? Because there's so many that are just like, they're all so similar. They don't, the names aren't very descriptive between them. But I can remember 1942, which was a World War II style.
Okay, yes, yep, I remember that one. There was one at the Pizza Hut down the street from me growing up, and I used to play that all the time. They had an arcade machine that would switch out every few years, and for a few of the years they had 1942 set up, and I was good at it. I used to play that all the time going in there. It was right next to my high school. Go in next to my other school. I used to go in there a lot and hit the jukebox and play the arcade. That's awesome. Yeah. No, I used to play Metal Gear Solid, I think is what it was, in the arcade. That was my game. I love that game. So that was that, and then always the the Buck Hunter games. I love those.
Yes.
Those games are so much fun.
Did you ever play Metal Slug in arcades or any of those type of games?
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Metal Slug. That's
okay,
not Metal Gear Solid. Metal Slug. That's what
I thought you meant. Metal Slug is a great game. Really, really great game.
Yes. I wish they had an indie game version of that. I would play it so much. I know they have it on the iPhone. They have it on iPhone, but
I'm not going to pay
$4 for it.
Yeah. They released an anthology on, I forget what console, but they released, it was and then the original Xbox, they had one, GameCube had a few. I would be surprised if they don't have one on the Xbox store right now, like you can download, try out.
Okay.
I would be surprised.
Again, but I just haven't looked at them.
Those games still as good as they were. Like, those played so well. They were well made. I love those games.
They're still in arcades today. That's the thing. They're still in arcades. So.
I always look for. There's an arcade. Do you have any barcades near you, or any kind of retro arcades? Do you? That's awesome. I love that that's making a comeback because there's one in my neighborhood, not my neighborhood, but in Providence, that I go to sometimes. It's called Free Play. Nice. You pay $5, you get in there, obviously drinks you have to pay for, but you get in there and you can play whatever you want for $5 for as long as you want. And it's a ton of stuff. Like, you're playing, it's mostly classic stuff, but they have 20 pinball machines, old racing games, all the beat 'em ups, Streets of Rage and X-Men and Spider-Man and Ninja Turtles and all those games. So that's cool. So you have one near you? What's it like?
Nice.
I don't quite remember, to be completely honest with you. I've gone in it one time, and yeah, we got pretty drunk that night, so I don't really remember all the games we played. Just being frank with you.
Yeah.
There is a cool little place that I found out that's near. It's downtown. No, not downtown, but in the college town in Norman. That it's board games. So you pay. I think you pay $10, and then you go in, and they just have board games strung throughout, like on all those, like on the walls, and you just pick a board game off the wall. You can go order a beer. There's some appetizers, and that's what you do that night. Like that's what you go to this place and you play with friends, and you just drink and play games. And oh hey, we played such and such, and we didn't like it, so we just put it away and went and got a different game. And then you can buy the game too. So if you really like a game, you can just buy it. Yeah, that place is cool. I don't remember what it was called. My buddy would have to tell me again. He's the one that told me about it in the first place, and I was like, that's an awesome idea. So,
that is awesome. Yeah, that would be cool. I wish there used to be, where I used to live, there was a bar down the end of my street, like literally on my street. It was so old that it was just grandfathered into the neighborhood, but it was just literally in between a bunch of houses in like a very residential neighborhood. And it eventually closed just because, like, new neighbors and everything didn't shut it down just because, you can't have a loud bar amongst, like, families and stuff like that. It just doesn't work. But they used to let you do whatever you want. They had a projector set up in the back, and you could bring your N64 in. They had a Nintendo Wii set up with games, but you could bring in whatever you want. Play board games. They had board games there. You could bring board games in. They had food, beer. I mean, couldn't beat it. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. So yeah, this game that we're playing is bringing back some fond memories of the arcade, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. So I'll kind of lead us into our little esports section, only because there wasn't anything really to update. This week though, starting yesterday, they started cross-play. So in the CWL and Call of Duty with people from Division A are now playing people from Division B, and so it's entertaining. Now you're seeing these matchups that you hadn't seen yet. They might have happened at Fort Worth, but now you're seeing we're getting to see. Let's see who played today. Team Evil Geniuses played E United yesterday, I believe.
That's your team, right? United.
Yeah, United, and then that's why I know who they played. Can't remember who everyone else played. I know that United played UYU today, and they beat them 3-0. So it's entertaining because you get to see these teams that didn't really get to play each other yet, and there was like what happened. There was a lot of different roster changes before Fort Worth. So it's interesting to see now these guys have a lot of time to practice, and they've gotten used to each other. They know how each other plays now. So it's making the matches a little closer, a little more entertaining. So
I was gonna say, do you feel like that if there's like a team that is like a better team, like a top tier team, do you feel like if a lower tier team plays them, that the lower tier team would play better and kind of like match their ability, or is it always like if a low tier team plays a top tier team, it's just like a wash, like they just destroy them?
Well, so something like that I was always told, and like when we played basketball in high school was, you could be the better team. It just depends on, do you play at their level or do they play at yours? And so when you're playing those better teams, yeah, you could smoke them, or you could if you're the underdog and you're playing these better teams, you could come out and just smoke them because you're playing at their level, and they came and they're playing at yours because they know that you're not that good, so they're not trying as hard, or they didn't prepare correctly. So a great example is the two teams that that the number 1 and number 2 team in Vegas at the start of this year was E United and Octave Gaming, and they both were in at Fort Worth, ended up in the losers bracket the first day. So it's just, I think it just all depends on the weekend. It all depends on a lot of it depends on team drama too. I think there's a lot of team drama, more than you would think in the Call of Duty esports, and it's kind of childish almost. It's like, okay, come on guys, grow up, be professional, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Overwatch League. I know some good things happened.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say they're good, not for me at least. The Boston Uprising lost to the Vancouver New York Excelsior in the first round of the first stage playoffs. And when I say lost, they got swept. It was just it was 3-1, or I don't know, it was 3-0, 3-1. They got destroyed. It wasn't even close. New York Excelsior, they're a great team, and they just completely mopped the floor with Boston Uprising. But the finals of the first stage playoffs were between the Vancouver Titans, who have also been a juggernaut this year, and the San Francisco Shock, which is kind of like a mid-tier team. Not really, they haven't been really like spectacular all season. They were kind of finishing in the middle of the pack as far as playoff teams go, but they hung tight with the Vancouver Titans and brought it all the way to the last map. And on the last map, they went to overtime, sudden death, which is they do. It was, and this was, it was on TV, but unfortunately, it was a breaking news report that kind of kicked them off TV. But they were on ABC and they were on ESPN3, which is awesome.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I wish I could have watched it that way, but I actually watched the end of it as I was preparing for Spawn Aim Fire. Great, awesome. It was such a good ending to the first stage of the playoffs, and I really feel like the Overwatch League is like getting in their stride now. Like they're doing well. There's a lot of people watching it, and now that it's on TV, it's gaining popularity. Next year they're gonna have home team matches, like we talked about last week. So it's gonna be good for them for that, and I'm just excited overall. The Boston Uprising Stage 2 begins on April 4th. They will be playing the Atlanta Reign, and that will kick off Stage 2. So, there's still a lot of Overwatch left, and the first stage playoffs don't really matter towards the end standings. The end standings still they're separate from that. But the Vancouver Titans did win $500,000 for the first stage playoffs. They did win quite a bit of money for the first stage playoffs, and I think it's
a change.
Yeah, and I think it's the top 3 teams from the stage playoffs win a certain amount of money. So,
wow.
So the Shock also won some, and then I think it was the Shanghai Dragon.
Wait, really?
Or no, the Seoul Dynasty.
No. Okay, I was like Shanghai Dragons. Didn't they didn't win a game last season?
Yeah, no, it was.
Right?
It was the yeah, they did. It was the what did you say? It was the Seoul Dynasty.
Seoul Dynasty.
Yes. So they were the one. I believe they came in third. So they all won a little bit of money, and now they'll reset for Stage 2, and we'll continue on. I still like the Boston Uprising's chance. I think what's going to happen this year is what happened last year. They're going to kind of hang in the middle of the pack, and then when they need to make the push, they'll make the push. They'll make the jump to the next level. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well,
that's the.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've started to watch them. Unfortunately, I never end up watching it live, but I always watch the VODs of it later on Twitch, and I gotta say it's definitely exciting to watch because one thing I like about the.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
No,
you're fine.
Yeah, go for
it. The one thing that I just want to say is that what I really like is the subbing in between maps. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
If someone's not performing right, then someone else can come in, and they can fix it or they can do whatever they need to do. I'm like, that's cool.
It also makes it more strategic. It makes it like we need that chemistry wasn't working last time. Here's a new map. We work better with this type of play, this type of formation. We need another tank. We need someone who can run Diva. Okay, let's put in Gamsu. Let's put in whoever. You know what I mean? Like those are the guy. Like here's a guy that plays better in this map with this person. Or we need a Zenyatta main. Let's put in our Zenyatta main. So cool. Makes it more strategic. It makes it more to it. What I was going to say before is I have to give a lot of props to the announcers. They do a great job of directing the rhythm of a match. When something, even if you don't know what Overwatch is and you've never played a game in your life, you know what parts are exciting because of how they're explaining it, and it can be chaotic at times for sure. But the way they walk you through it and the way they talk about it, it just feels natural. They do a great job with it, and it just you're more engaged, like definitely. So I give a lot of credit to the announcers, and I wish I could name some of their names offhand, but I don't really know. I know Malik Forte, who used to be on Nerdist. Nice. He's a part of it, but he's not a regular announcer. He does a lot of the show stuff. But they do a great job. I mean, they're awesome. It's so exciting. And that final match between the Titans and the Shock, people, I mean, the announcers were going nuts. It was crazy. It was pandemonium in there. And the fans, too.
That's awesome.
The fans are going nuts, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, of course they are. Yeah, no, did you, I think I tagged you in this on Twitter, but the Philadelphia Fusion Arena, did you see that?
No.
You didn't see that? Oh, dude, you have to go look at the video. I'll make sure, I'll try to find it, I'll tag you in it, and maybe I'll just retweet it off of When Gaming, so you can see it there too. Dude, it's a $50 million esports arena that's going to be in the heart of Philadelphia.
What?
And it is gorgeous. It can hold 35,000 people, I think, or something like that. Gorgeous. Like it is next level esports arena.
Oh my, that's awesome. That is awesome. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. And it sucks because like people. So this is one thing that pissed me off was about kind of funny. This morning I was listening, or I guess I listened to it on my way home from work, and it pissed me off. And they were all like giving trouble for it. Like, well, there's already esports arenas. Yeah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. You guys don't understand. This is a single team for home games next year in the Overwatch League. Like, this is cool.
Do you think that they'll open it up to other esports? Do you think they'll?
Yes. I think they didn't. They said they're going to. It's going to be different venues, and it's got capabilities for a lot of different things. So it's going to be a venue for other esports other than Overwatch, because Call of Duty is franchising next year. So I'm going to bet that if they're willing to put $50 million down for a arena, they're okay to put $25 million down for one of the spots in the CWL.
Oh, so, sure, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm that excites me just to see more and more esports stuff coming up, and these people investing the money where they know people will go, even though it's not the biggest following. They know that there is a following, and they know that people do care. Yeah. So
that is awesome. That's so exciting. I hope that they're able to keep the production value up, because in LA, the stage just looks so good. Like the way they have the LED video screen set up, it just looks so good. And I hope they're able to, even though teams are going to their home stadiums, I hope they're able to like keep the production value consistent across the map.
I think they're trying to mimic what they do at the Overwatch arena, or the Blizzard arena, I think is what it's called. I think they're trying to mimic the LED screen and everything. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is
so
awesome.
I'll find it. I'll retweet
it.
It'll be on Wednesday.
Please, I must have just missed it. Yeah, it's great news. I must have just missed it. That is awesome.
Yeah. So.
All right, here we go. I'm making some motion now. I went back to the first level. I did. Just so I could bump up my score a little bit. I did. I got 3 of the badges. I just haven't done 100% set on all the enemies.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, yeah. So I think that wraps up our episode.
Yes.
This week. So, do you got anything that you wanna? Any last words for the podcast?
I just want to, anybody that's been listening to our podcast, I want to thank you. If you, this is kind of like we were talking about before, we're a month in. A month ago, I wouldn't have dreamed that we would be at this place, and really haven't, just been, just doing our thing. And I would have never, over a month ago, I would have never dreamed that I'd be doing a gaming podcast. So it's great to be here. So if you're listening, Like, it would be great to hear feedback. Like, even if you just go on Twitter and say what's up to us, say, hey, we're listening. That would be awesome. I just want to hear from whoever's on the other side. That'd be great.
I agree. So I'm a person who thrives on feedback, positive or negative, and so yeah, I want to know what we're doing right, and more importantly, what we're doing wrong, what we can do to make it better. So yeah, so reach out to us, say hey, say what's up, and just kind of give us what you think we need to work on. So yeah, I agree. Just right with you. I think I want to hear from people. I think that's the fun part, is to actually hear from the people who are listening to you. So yeah. But,
very good.
But yeah, so yeah, I'll let you, since you did the sign on, I'll let you do the sign off.
Well, when you play games, you talk games, and you make some friends, and that's what we're trying to do here. So we're not going to be able to play, if anybody's listening on the live stream, we're not going to be able to play really with anybody right now because this is not really a game that people can jump in, but we promise in the future we want to have gaming nights. We kind of put out the feelers on Respawn Aim Fire that we want to play with some people, so who knows? The next coming weeks we could be playing with some fans or just, anybody that wants to play games. So yeah, It was a great podcast, Ryan. I want to beat some more levels in this, so let's get to it.
Let's get to it.